On this final day of 2013, until the stroke of midnight, lawmakers in Korea scrambled to reach a compromise on a number of key bills, including the nation's 2014 budget bill before the midnight deadline. Back to normal, the longest ever rail strike in the country's history has now come to an end, and the chief of KORAIL says all train operations will return to normal by January 14th. And out with the old and in with the new. We'll show you how Koreans are ringing in the new year at different celebration spots in Seoul. Our final early edition of the year begins now. It is 4 a.m. in New York, 11 p.m. in the island nation of Samoa, and 6 on the last day of 2013 here in Seoul. I'm Moon Gun-young. Welcome to our year-end edition of Early Edition at 6.
Last day of 2013 indeed. And I'm Daniel Che. Thank you for joining us.
Now, with less than 6 hours left, the National Assembly still has a series of key bills to pass before the year's end, including next year's budget bill.
Well, earlier on Tuesday, both rival parties reached a compromise on a bill to reform the National Intelligence Service. Kim Young-gil reports.
With the clock ticking down to the new year, the National Assembly continues to work on passing a number of key bills this Tuesday, including next year's budget worth nearly $340 billion. If lawmakers fail to pass the budget bill, the government would have to come up with a provisional budget which would be limited to financing mandatory expenditures, some public organizations, and previously approved business projects. President Park Geun-hye has urged the legislature to pass a full budget bill before the year's end, as it directly relates to improving the livelihoods of the people and boosting Korea's economy. While the 2014 budget remains in limbo, the ruling Saenuri Party and the main opposition Democratic Party did agree on a package deal to reform the National Intelligence Service earlier Tuesday. The Special Parliamentary Committee on Reforming the State Spy Agency has worked out the revisions, which include banning NIS agents from gaining access to government offices and media outlets. That bill now awaits approval at the parliamentary plenary session. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Now, moving over to the nationwide rail strike that gripped Korea for over 3 weeks, well, that's officially over, with thousands of striking workers having returned to their posts earlier today. Arirang News' Kim Hyun-bin has a wrap-up.
Over the 22 days, there was much conflict, leaving much damage. All the illegal strikers have come back to work, officially ending the railway strike.
KORAIL CEO Choi Yeon-hae added that subways will operate normally starting January 6, while KTX and freight trains, among others, will normalize starting on the 14th. The timeline was made possible after striking union workers returned to work at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, Korea time. Union leaders promised to call off the strike Monday after the country's two main political parties agreed to form a parliamentary subcommittee under the Transport Ministry. The first subcommittee meeting Tuesday will focus mainly on ways to enhance the management of KORAIL without privatizing part of its KTX bullet train service. Union leaders have pledged to be actively involved every step of the way.
We will be actively involved in the new subcommittee to guide it in the right direction, and we will share the process with the public to enhance our public railway system.
The formation of the new subcommittee was one of 5 changes the union asked for during talks with management last week. The union said the government's plan to form a subsidiary to run a new KTX line was actually the first step toward privatizing rail services in the future, something the government still denies. The parliamentary committee will be made up of an equal number of members from the two main rival parties, but it will be headed by a ruling Saenuri Party lawmaker. Meanwhile, 31 union leaders who have arrest warrants out for them have agreed to turn themselves in to police. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, President Park Geun-hye says she'll continue her push to normalize the abnormal practices in society in 2014. During her New Year's address to the nation on this Tuesday, President Park called on the public to join in the government's efforts to open a new future for the country that's aimed at making each and every person's life happier and more abundant. Now, she pledged to focus on revitalizing the economy and stabilizing people's livelihoods. On North Korea, President Park reiterated that her administration will maintain a firm security posture and crisis management system in preparation for any possible provocation by the North and lay the foundation for peaceful reunification of the two Koreas.
Well, there are signs North Korea could once again threaten South Korea just after an annual military training exercise between South Korea and the U.S. that is set to begin in March. The Seoul-based Institute for National Security Strategy says there is a high possibility Pyongyang could attempt a fourth nuclear test or launch another ballistic missile following the annual key resolve and full legal drills. The institute adds the North could set off provocations in order to strengthen its internal unity, which could have been affected by the execution of Jang Song-taek, the once powerful uncle of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. In response, the South Korean military said it was ready to retaliate if provoked. Pyongyang recently dispatched 60 attack helicopters and 200 pieces of heavy artillery to islands near the western maritime border to strengthen its defense capabilities.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online. Connecting you with heroes and experts to help you understand the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best with Moon Gun-young and Daniel Che on Early Edition at 6.
Now, shifting gears to the economy, Korea's import prices rose by 2%.
The price of natural gas is set to go up by roughly 5.8% starting January 1st, reflecting a recent hike in import prices. The Korea Gas Corporation made the announcement Tuesday, saying that the decision was made because of a rise in the average purchase price of gas, followed by growing demands for gas after 3 of the country's nuclear reactors were shut down earlier this year. The price of gas for households will go up by 5.7%, translating into an additional $4 per household per month. The industrial sector will see a 6.1% increase, and the service sector a 5.5% hike. This is the third time this year gas prices have gone up after the surges in February and August. Korea's Consumer Price Index has logged its lowest growth in 14 years. Statistics Korea says prices grew by an average of 1.3% this year, making it the lowest growth in 14 years, when it was a 0.8% right after the Asian financial crisis in the late 1990s. Consumer prices in December rose 1.1% from the same month a year ago, dropping by 0.1 percentage point from the previous month. It's the second straight month the index has been in the 1.1% range. Prices rose by nearly 2% from the previous year, excluding agriculture and petroleum products. Prices of fresh produce dropped by just over 11%. Statistics Korea says prices will continue to be stable and there is currently no risk of deflation.
Let's now take a closer look at the consumption trend here in Korea and how the global economic conditions affected Korea in 2013. When we look back over the past 12 months, we can see the strong reemergence of 2 consumption behaviors in our Connie Kim reports.
Korean society has entered a slow growth stage, and in 2013, that was accentuated in 2 already existing consumption patterns that came to the fore.
As a response to the slow economic growth, consumers are purchasing low-cost everyday products, while at the same time spending more on goods that reflect their tastes and interests.
The Korea Trend Research Institute included budget phones and less expensive convenience store brand products on its list of 2013 hit items. Budget phones targeted the niche market of customers who only wanted the basic functions of a cell phone, while the convenience store brands targeted consumers looking for bargains.
I usually purchase convenience store brand snacks and coffee. I buy these products because they offer a wide variety, lower prices, and are high quality.
However, on the other hand, individuals showed a different purchasing trend when it came to small luxuries, including desserts, liquor, and premium perfumes.
The luxury trend has become widespread, and consumer purchases of small luxuries have become even more popular because of the relatively low cost.
When it comes to home appliances, consumers prefer to buy multifunction electronic products such as refrigerators that preserve kimchi, make carbonated water and purify water, and air washers that also function as humidifiers and air purifiers. These new categories of appliances were popular as they reduce energy consumption and free up extra space. Analysts say the consumption trend for 2014 will resemble a barbell where consumers select products that offer traditional conveniences and at the same time, new experiences. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, the world saw burgeoning recoveries in most advanced economies this year, but these were counterbalanced by recession in a number of emerging markets. Our Oh Jin-ju reports on what to expect in the global economy in 2014.
The world is about to bid farewell to 2013, a year in which confidence in the euro was restored and economic growth in China accelerated again, while most emerging markets suffered one of their worst economic crises in decades. So what about next year? Economists project tepid but steady growth in 2014, with recent economic indicators looking positive. The U.S. Federal Reserve provided a concrete example of that optimism earlier in December when it decided to start scaling back its monetary stimulus based on the strength of recent signals from the economy. The International Monetary Fund also made an upward adjustment to its projections for next year's growth rate to around 3.6% from roughly 2.9% this year. However, analysts say there are still some obstacles to overcome, with corporations still unwilling to invest and the high unemployment rate in the U.S. And as for the world's second largest economy, China, it forecasts its economy and financial market to be on a steady path next year as it tries to shift from its current traditional export-led model to a more domestic consumption-driven one. While no official economic target has been announced for next year, many economists predict that Beijing will set a similar 7.5% or higher goal. And the Eurozone, while looking a lot more stable than it did at this time last year, remains the biggest question mark for the global economic outlook. In 2013, the Eurozone finally came out of a long recession and confidence in the single currency was restored. The trend toward stability is likely to continue in 2014, however, the growth outlook remains on the downside. Overall, analysts point out that despite some signs of a brighter future ahead, there is a need to address the big structural problems and imbalances that continue to weigh on the global economy. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
Well, we're here coming to you live from Arirang News Studio here in southern Seoul, but the action tonight as we count down to the new year is out on the streets of Seoul.
That's right. Our reporters are out there braving the cold to give us a sense of how Koreans are ringing in 2014.
Right, New Yorkers usher in the new year at Times Square, Londoners at Big Ben, but for Seoulites, the place to be on New Year's Eve has always been the iconic Posinggak Bell Pavilion in downtown Seoul. But apparently there's another it place to be, and it's Gangnam Station on the southern side of the Hangang River.
Our Song Ji-sun joins us live from Gangnam Station and our Yurian from the Posinggak Bell Pavilion. Hello there, guys.
Hello.
All right, let's first go over to our Song Ji-sun. She is coming to us live from the crowded streets near Gangnam Station.
Hello there, Ji-sun. The area there is now world famous, right? Looks to be filling up with people waiting to ring in the new year.
That's right, Daniel and Konyang, of course. This has always been one of the busiest stations here in Seoul as the capital of business and entertainment. And the station will bustle with even more people tonight as the Gangnam District Office is hosting the first ever countdown event ever, modeled after the one in Big Apple, New York. And at last year's countdown in Times Square, New York, more than 1 million people saw Psy, the mega hit singer who made this district famous and popular around the world, performing his mega hit Gangnam Style. But if you're wondering, the popular singer who just had a concert of his own is not scheduled to be here present tonight, but the air will be filled with music by other popular singers like 2AM, Lee Seung-hwan, and Kim Tae-woo. And of course, the show will start at 9 p.m. tonight at the right stage, stand on corner of a Gangnam Station, so you still have time to make it here and spend a New Year's Eve in Gangnam Style.
Now, Ji-sun, what is this that we're hearing about? Not a ball dropping ceremony, but a ball rising ceremony that's set to take place there.
Well, Konyang, if you ever passed the streets of Gangnam over the past couple of days, you must have seen one of these wish balls on the streets of Gangnam. Now, people have been writing their New Year's resolutions and wishes on these wish balls, and at the countdown to midnight, these balls will rise into the sky 15 meters above the ground. People are gathering here in the Gangnam Station to watch their wishes going into the sky, and they're excited to ring the new year with their families and friends, the beloved ones, in Gangnam Style. I'll be back with more of the New Year's excitement back in 2 hours. Happy New Year, guys.
Well, Happy New Year in advance to you too. Thank you, Ji-sun. We'll check back on those balls and, of course, you real soon. That was our Song Ji-sun live at Gangnam Station in southern Seoul.
It is about 16 or 17 p.m. on the last day of 2013. We have roughly 5.5 hours left until the new year. Let's look in on Yurian, who's standing by at the Poshingak Bell Pavilion in Myeongdong, downtown Seoul, where the biggest New Year's Eve celebration takes place every year.
So, Rian, what's it like over there as we near the beginning of 2014?
Hi guys, I'm standing in front of Poshingak in the downtown district of Seoul in Jongro. Now, we have less than 6 hours to go until the bell ringing ceremony actually begins, but already I'm seeing a number of people gathered around here in front of the pavilion, taking photos and really waiting in anticipation of this New Year bell ringing ceremony. Now, right now, I have with me a young lady from Sweden who joins me now, who has decided to spend her time here in front of the pavilion. Hi. What has brought you here in New Year's Eve?
I'm here visiting with my mom, and my sister is studying Korean here.
Are you excited for the bell ring ceremony later tonight?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's very different from back home, where we mainly have fireworks. So here it's very different, and I'm so excited to see how you ring in the new year.
And finally, what's your New Year resolutions for next year?
To finish high school with good grades and to get into a good university.
All right, thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night here, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I've been talking to a lot of people out here, and they definitely seem to have a great idea of what their resolutions will be like. It makes me feel like I need to set up my own list as well. Guys?
Right, Leon, it definitely seems like we have a global crowd out there at the Poshingak Bell Pavilion. Now, Leon, another thing that's very interesting every year is to find out who rings the bell each year. Now, who will be ringing the Poshingak Bell 33 times this year?
Kanyang, you're right. 5 Seoul city officials will be present for the bell ringing ceremony later tonight. That, of course, includes Seoul City Mayor Park Won-soon. Now, every year, 11 people are chosen for showing signs of courage and hope. And included in that list is, of course, football star Chaduri, an 18-year-old student Nam Eun-tae who survived blood cancer and came out at the top of the class, and Taru Salminen from Finland, who runs our own traditional Korean makgeolli pub here in Seoul. Now, the place starts to get pretty packed around 9, so if you want to get a nice spot to watch the bell ringing ceremony, you'd better start making your way down here. And if you are, the important thing to keep in mind is, of course, transportation. All the roads around Poshingak Pavilion will be blocked from 11 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., so leave your cars behind. The city buses and subways will be extended until 2 a.m., but keep in mind the subway for Jonggak Station will stop running for safety purposes. That's all from me for now. I'll be bringing you more updates as the night progresses. Guys?
Well, thank you for that, Leon. I definitely feel that the new year is inching ever so closer. That was our Yurian reporting live from the Poshingak Bell Pavilion with just about 5.5 hours left until Koreans start to ring in the new year.
Well, the end of the year usually means more giving and sharing, and 2013 is no exception.
Well, but the way in which they're donating to those less privileged is steadily changing. And here, Korea, our Shin Se-min reports.
An anonymous individual dropped a check worth nearly $95,000 into one of the Salvation Army's red kettles in Seoul this December. The organization says it's the third straight year that the generous benefactor has made the donation, although he or she remains unknown. Although most of those donating money in Korea are giving far less than thousands of dollars at a time, the total amount being donated in the country has been on a steady rise in recent years. In 2011, a combined $10.5 billion was donated by businesses and individuals, with over 63% of that coming from the public, double the amount seen 4 years earlier.
This thermometer in Gwanghwamun Plaza is part of the Community Chest of Korea's year-end fundraising drive that runs through Lunar New Year. And as you can see, citizens have contributed around $200 million so far, roughly $90 million short of the target amount.
As for why Koreans are giving in record amounts, analysts say economic growth isn't the primary reason.
When you give individually rather than in a group or corporate setting, it becomes a personal matter because the giver has the power and choice over the donation, and the receiver knows exactly where the donation comes from. And there is increased happiness because of the more personal for the both parties.
A sentiment echoed by the warm-hearted individuals who are giving this holiday season.
Although it's a small amount, the fact that I contributed in helping those less fortunate gives me satisfaction.
And it doesn't only have to be cash or coins dropped in a bucket. Individual donors in Korea are also encouraged to donate via the phone, credit card, and by wire transfer. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Well, the weather seems pretty mild for this time of the year, but let's go over to our Kim Bo-kyung at the Arirang Weather Center to find out whether the temperatures will be favorable for those of us at different outdoor spots across the country to usher in the new year. Bo-kyung, so how's the weather going to treat us this New Year's Eve?
Well, Kanyang, it looks like we're pretty lucky this year. The mild winter weather probably means that a lot more people will be headed outdoors to celebrate New Year's. In fact, it's only 7 degrees here in Seoul, and numbers will dip to about -1 at midnight, so the numbers will be bearable.
Okay, Bo-kyung, share with us some of your pearls of wisdom. As for those who want to check out the first sunrise of the year, where should they head to?
Sure, Daniel, there are plenty of places to go, but wherever you're headed, make sure to bundle up, and it would be wise to keep some hot packs handy. Well, if you're staying in Seoul, you can head to Namsan Tower, which is the former Seoul Tower, where you can check out the first sunrise of 2014 at 7:37 a.m. Also, those of you on Dokdo will be the first in the country to witness sunrise at 7:26 a.m. And Seongsan Ilchulbong on Jeju, which is a very popular spot among tourists, the sun will make appearance at 7:35 a.m. tomorrow morning. However, keep in mind that Seoul is seeing high levels of fine dust at around 147 micrograms per cubic meter fine dust, which is 3 to 4 times the normal level. So make sure to grab a mask on your ways out. Other than that, it looks like tomorrow temperatures will be similar to today, which would be perfect for you guys to enjoy the New Year's. Taking a look at New Year's numbers, Seoul reaches 5 degrees while Daegu and Gwangju peak at 8. As for other regions, Jeju tops out at 12 degrees, meanwhile Dokdo and Mount Kumgang make it to 5 and -5 degrees respectively. Well, Happy New Year's to all our viewers, and wish you the best in 2014. That's all I have for you this hour, and back to you guys.
Well, thank you for that, Bo-kyung. Happy New Year to you too, and our watchers, viewers out there. It's been a whirlwind year for many. The year end is just another day for some, but what makes it meaningful when you embrace that full stop behind the digit 2013? Look back, smile, and get ready to plunge into the new year, leaving all doubts and fears behind.
Right, I'm Moon Ganyang. A big thank you to all of you for joining and watching us from around the world. We certainly try to be here every day to give you only the latest headlines here in Korea and all across the globe, but we know that it's our viewers that make our newscasts complete. So thank you. Hope you wrap up the year in the best way possible, and we'll see you right back here in the new year. Good night.